What is up, YouTube? How's it going? I am watching, when I'm not trying to get all pretty, a special on our local PBS station, and here in Idaho, and they're bringing up, I think it's a special on Darwin, and they're just talking about him and things that he discovered and things that he did, talking about his life and his discoveries. But they're talking about adaptations in animals, and it brought me to a, I believe, interesting question. They're talking about these adaptations. You know, one species has a free radical, if you will, just a random change in its. And then when it mates, those are passed on. Those traits are passed on. And I say, okay, you can see that's evident in dog breeding. Certain dogs have different adaptations, or have different features, different qualities, and when you breed them, they get passed on. But let's take something simple. I don't mean, there's no pun intended in that, you'll understand what I mean in a second. Something simple, something very simple-minded, if you will, and I don't mean any pun. Let's take retardation, for instance, or autism. Many of you guys have seen I Am Sam. Many of you guys have seen, I can't remember the name of the movie, but the guy was autistic and had a child, and in those cases, no case that I've ever heard of where even two mentally handicapped people got together, did they pass on their retardation, if you will, their mental handicap, or make it so that their genes, their gene pool was increased with things like Down syndrome or Asperger's, or any type of autism, or any kind of mental retardation. None of them get passed down. That's my first point. I think evolution is stupid. Because the things don't get passed down. Only select things that they want get passed down. Things like that don't get passed down. My second, if you will, claim that evolution is stupid, is that animals, they keep showing these animals. Darwin, when he was on his trip to the Galapagos Islands, found a gigantic sloth and a gigantic armadillo, or an animal that he described as having features that were similar to a armadillo. And when he found them, he said, "Wow, look at how much these species have changed. They've gotten smaller." Now, the Galapagos Islands are full of some pretty dangerous predators. Not the most dangerous predators, but some pretty dangerous ones out there. And the question is, why would a species that got smaller have a higher chance of living than one that was huge? And if one did get smaller, if it all of a sudden was a dwarf, or not even all of a sudden, just gradually became a dwarf, wouldn't all of the predators have to decline in size equally with the prey in order for them both to survive? Because there still is sloths in the Galapagos Islands. There still is armadillos in the Galapagos Islands. So if those the natural predators to the sloth and to the armadillo, if they stayed the same size, they would be able to kill them off. They would be a smaller source of food, thus they would have to consume more of them, thus they would end up killing that species, all of that species off. Or for some strange reason, they declined in size at the exact same time, and that would be a random. That would have to be a one in particular freak thing. And if it was like 50 around the planet, I would be okay. It's just a random thing. But we see it everywhere. That all these animals got smaller, and it is described in the Bible that there was animals that were gigantic, and we can only assume, since humans were living for 1,000 years sometimes, that there would be no reason for the animals to not live that long as well. And things like reptiles that they find in the ground are humongous, absolutely humongous. And if a human is going to be 12 feet tall, the snakes keep growing throughout their whole life. That's why that would be significant. But if we see that, if we see that about humans, we've dug up giant humans, and we see the same thing for animals. We're digging up the giant ones, and we have a book that says that they were all, or that humans were giants, and then we dig up giant humans. I think it's fair to say that the Bible wins on this one. I think it's rather ridiculous to assume that evolution is the way, when it doesn't really make any sense when you look at it just slowly. If you don't just take it in and like, wow, and you're not so overwhelmed by like, wow, and how crazy it is, and these quote unquote proofs for it, if you're not so blown away and take it as truth, and you like slowly look at it and think about it, it's not too hard to figure out that something, if the prey got too small, then the predator would eat more of them and probably kill them off, and then they would end up dying or finding a different source of food. Or if the predator got smaller, then they wouldn't be able to consume the prey, and then the predator would find some other food or die off. Just my thoughts and my views. Get back at me.